All right, what's going on, guys? So this video is going to be one of the most important videos that you will see as a Christian trying to understand and interpret what's going on with all the information out there, with all the prophetic words out there, with every single commentary that's going on. I'm going to give you a lot of it all in one video. At the time of this video, it's February 24th, 2022, Thursday afternoon. And I've had the time last night. I was up very late last night till 3, 4 a.m. praying, digesting, trying to get discernment and understanding from the Lord. And I spent all day, I've been doing a lot of work, I've been busy, I've gotten very little sleep. And so this is a culmination of understanding the latest news, especially after yesterday's speech, Putin's speech, as well as all the different things that have transpired to date. So I'm going to cover all of that. I'm going to talk about prophecy. I'm also going to talk about different perspectives and clarifying things that I've already said. And so things that I've said, I stand by, but it's a matter of understanding what's going on and perspective. And so with that, I want to say a couple of different things. First, if you are a believer and you are hearing different things going on, I want to give you one universal prophetic word that is coming from scripture. And no matter where you are, whether you are believing what's going on, what's happening to the degree that it's bad or not as good, or you're trying to figure out the information, doesn't matter your perspective. This one verse is one prophetic word that came to mind immediately as I began to discern and understand what was going on. And that comes from Matthew 24. And it says in verse 6, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places." And so right there, you've got to understand something. It doesn't matter whether it's an actual war or a rumor of a war. The response is the same as a Christian. It is not to be troubled. And additionally, what does that mean? It means don't be anxious. Don't be worrisome. Don't look at things with such fearful outlook and mentality, but trust the Lord. He has His will, His sovereignty over all things. And so if you are reactionary, if you're so quick to make a judgment, if you're so quick to get into this argument of what's going on, how to interpret all these different things, and the posture and the condition of your heart is not in the right place, I'm here to tell you as a prophetic exhortation that you have to be able to first and foremost guard your heart and have the correct outlook as it pertains to the times, wars, specifically with what Russia and Ukraine is, and also how it is in context of scripture. A lot of people, I saw the hashtag World War III on Twitter or whatever it was, and a lot of people think the world is ending. They think that Christ is coming back. I'm here to tell you that's not the case. And more so, even if you don't believe the timeline of the end times, right? We're in the end days, but the end is not yet, as the Bible is saying. And even if you don't agree with that, the one thing you have to be able to align to, that most Christians would agree on, no matter your perspective, is do not be troubled. So if you are acting up, if you are listening to something and then you're saying, "Oh yeah, see, I told you this is happening. Oh look, this is happening. Oh yeah, do you see that? And this and that." Listen, you've got to calm down. You got to take a chill pill, and you have to be able to collect yourself. And I'm not trying to belittle anybody. I'm not trying to make something less than what it actually is. Whatever is happening, it's not good, right? People may be dying. People are going through a lot of hardship, loss, economic loss, financial loss, whatever it is that's happening. It's bad. It's not good. I'm not trying to belittle or degrade that. What I'm saying is that in your heart, your response, the way that your outlook should be according to Bible and as a Christian is one that should not be concerned, worried, troubled, fearful, in doubt and all these different things, but rather you should be standing up and saying, "Lord, how do I respond? Let me look to you. Let me look to the cross. Let me look and not be so downcast." So I want to address first and foremost the heart condition of so many people that are so troubled, so reactionary, so uneasy, and just so fluttering back and forth. You've got to be able to take a chill pill. And so I'm not trying to say that in any derogatory way, but as a Christian, be careful how you speak next. Be careful how you act next. Be careful what you throw out to other people to fan the flame or do whatever it is to instill the fear and the worry and all these different things that's going on in the world. You're not helping if you are doing that, right? So we're trying to figure this out together. So that's the first word I want to give. The second thing I want to process and give you guys is that starting from when information comes out. And I've talked about this over the year. If you know my videos, if you know my perspective, we're in a time right now where we are dealing with information. We're dealing with misinformation. We're dealing with how to process information. We're dealing with stereotypes, perspectives, ideologies, outlooks, preconceived notions, all of these different things that shape your culture, your ideology, your outlook, your lens on life. And so we're in a time right now where you have to be aware of propaganda, of packaging of information, storytelling, narratives, all these different things. Tainted beyond that or underneath that as an undertone is liberal viewpoints, neutral viewpoints, conservative viewpoints, left, right, whatever you want to call it. So you have to be aware of all these different things. And more importantly, that because we're in a state of war in the sense of psychological warfare, behavioral warfare, information warfare, cyber warfare, guerrilla warfare, unconventional warfare, all these different things mix into this idea that it is not what it seems at face value. And so again, I'm not trying to cast doubt on any information, oh, this video or that news article, whatever it is. What I'm saying here is that at the first level, your first line of defense, after of course getting right with the Lord in your heart condition, is that when you process information, how do you process what's being said? One thing that I did for a long time last night, for many hours, is to get to the bottom of some of the easier researchable things. And what is that? It is taking what Putin said and what he's going to do and seeing what he actually meant by that. And so the easiest way to do that is to go read the transcript or watch the video. In this case, it's in Russian, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the translator that he translated correctly, right? And so if I look at that, I can see for myself in this, there's two interviews. One a couple days ago when the separatist treaty and all that was signed, that's nearly an hour long. And then there was another video yesterday, which everybody is quoting, saying, oh, like nitpicking all these different things. It's about a 30-minute video. He gives the full outlook of what's coming and what he's saying, right? And so it's video evidence of him. And I don't think it's deep fake, guys. This is video evidence of Putin saying something and what he's intending. He talked about history. He talked about, the Soviet Union. He talked about all these different things, right? All the way from back to now and what's going on in the world, what he believes is going on in the world. So he gives a perspective, right? That's very easily verifiable. And then what does the media do? They nitpick and they want to create a narrative out of what he's saying, right? Some of it is in honest, journalism. Some of it is with a neutral bias. Some are with a very heavily liberal or whatever bias, whatever it is, right? You have to be aware of storytelling. You have to be aware of narratives and propaganda and taking what you want people to believe and hear and see and shaping that, right? And so I've talked about this with every single issue that has come and brought to light so far. Vaccines, COVID, election, many, many other things. This is no different, guys. You have to be aware of that. And so from that next level of processing information, you have to be aware that the media, they could be distorting, they could be using sound bites, they could be doing whatever they want. And so for you to be able to react to that and say, oh no, you see these articles and the AP and Reuters, these guys are saying this, oh, it's this. And then that's where with easily verifiable research, you can easily understand what is actually being said and look for yourself what you believe the tone is. I don't want to read someone's opinion about somebody's opinion on what they believe Putin said. I want to see what Putin actually said before I start believing it, right? And so again, this kind of stuff requires a little bit more extra research, but this is easily verifiable. Never mind you what Putin actually said. Is it true what he said or not? I mean, I could do more research to understand that. I don't need to in this instance, but the point is when you're processing information, and that's why I got skeptical, and a lot of us need to be skeptical when you first hear something. Again, I've told people, you have to take a step back, let the dust settle, and see what comes out of it. Many times, it's a misinformation campaign. Many times, people even give incorrect, quote-unquote, evidence. There's already been video coming out, right? And I'm not saying all the video, but some video has already been debunked as being 3-4 years old. A bombing, a building on fire, whatever it is, has been old. So I'm not saying that for all these buildings and all these different videos that are coming out. I'm saying for each to their own, right? You check, and you got to be cautious and discerning. I've said a couple of days ago, it requires great discernment to be able to understand what's going on right now. It requires great discernment to be able to take each thing, double check it with the word of God in prayer, and then with proper research as much as possible, taking different perspectives, whatever it is, and checking the source, specifically with the verbiage and the language that Putin is using. One of the things that I found very, disturbing is that a lot of media, they took this out. They took out what Putin said yesterday. He said, after a lot of the strong, and admittingly, he said a lot of strong language, lay your arms down, do all these different things. But one of the things he said was, our plans do not include the occupation of Ukrainian territories. We are not going to impose anything by force. So right now, you got all these people, they have no idea what's going on in terms of where the military is, where troops are stationed, and all these different, they're seeing a map. And don't tell me to believe this map. I don't know who made this map. I don't know who made these videos and stapled it together, right? I'm being cautiously skeptical of what is being presented before me. And so again, I'm not here to, and it could be true. I'm not saying it's completely false. I'm not in this conspiracy camp of, oh, it's all this or it's that. I'm trying to get to the bottom of things. I want to get to the truth. I want to get to what is actually factual, as much as I can process, as much as they're willing to tell me, right? And again, military generals, Biden, Putin, all these different guys, they're not going to tell you, we have 5,000 troops exactly here and this and that. But as much as possible, from crowdsource, from legitimate sources, we want to be able to understand what's going on. So you got all these maps, you got all these different things, stories, and all this stuff. What do you believe, right? So the second prophetic word of encouragement and exhortation I have is be very cautious how you process information, because a lot of people, they're creating narratives, and Putin said this, but then everybody else is saying, no, it's an invasion. Oh no, it's all these different things. And you're getting people to use their imagination to fill in the gaps to see what is the worst case scenario, what is the best case scenario, what is actually going on. I don't see troops marching in by the thousands, going in and doing. I don't see any of that, guys. I don't see, quite honestly, I see missiles, bombs, and of course and I'll get to that in a second. But the point is, the first line is processing information. Don't react. So many people are reacting out of their emotions, their own thoughts, their own imagination, them filling the gaps and what they believe is going on, and they're reacting. That brings me to my next point, which is perspective. You got to be aware, and this is my third word of encouragement and prophetic exhortation, is that you've got to be aware. A lot of people are getting humbled by their perspective in life. And what I mean by that is their ideologies, their stereotypes, their preconceived notions, their cultural upbringings, their ideologies, their association to certain nations, and then the viewpoints, liberal, conservative, whatever it is, Republican, Democrat, whatever you want to call it. They're getting influenced by these things. One of the main things that's happening right now is the demonization and the marginalization and the negative view of Putin, of Russia, of history, of all these different things, and it's clouding people's judgments. The same goes for when you look at Middle Eastern nations, when you look at nations like North Korea. Of course, the population people there, when they look at somebody like the US, they will say, oh, those bigoted, like rich, whatever, like uppity, whatever people, man, I can't believe those US citizens, they're so bad, right? If you look at even the armies and all the different military actions that the US does, how can you receive that positively if you've been on the receiving end of it in a negative light, right? So your perspective is shaped by how you have been raised, all the doctrine, all the ideologies that have been thrown at you, and it's shaping who you are. And I've been telling people this, but we're in a time right now where you're being tested. Are you going to let your preconceived notions come out, or are you going to rid yourself, humble yourself before the Lord and say, Lord, I want to take off all this worldly mentality. I want to cleanse myself. I want to eradicate all this, and I want to start fresh. And I want to see people in the eyes of love, in the eyes of grace, in the eyes of mercy, and for what they are right now. Nobody looked at Paul in the Bible and said, you know what? I still remember you being Saul and you murdering people. And so I'm going to disqualify you. I'm going to give you this mark or this negativity. No one's, and I'm not saying completely ignore someone's past, right? But again, people are different from what people are saying, from what they did way in the past, and many other things. So we're in a time right now where you're being tested for what is truth versus what is a story mixed in with your own bias, your own ideologies, your own stereotypes, your own preconceived notions, and all these different things. I hope I beat that with a dead horse, because the example I want to give, which leads me to my fourth point, is that a lot of people right now, they're looking at the word invasion, they're looking at the word and the acts that are happening in a certain light. And if you think about it, and I'm Korean of Korean ethnicity. If you think about the US, they took the military, the army, whatever you want to call it, into South Korea, and they set up a base there. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were an American, if you were a South Korean, you wouldn't say that that wasn't an invasion. The US military did not invade South Korea and then for them to set up shop there. But guess what? If you're a communist, if you're a North Korean, if you're somebody on the other side of it and you have a different viewpoint of it, you would say, oh no, the US invaded South Korea and now they're setting up shop, right? No, you would, as a South Korean or as an American, you would say, no, they actually came to help this nation. They came to help South Korea so that if North Korea ever attacks or in defense or to be able to, set up their own military or whatever it is, they're doing it for these other reasons. The same goes for when you look at Eastern Ukraine, the two separatist nations, Donbass, all right, Donetsk, Lugansk, and apologies, I'm butchering the name. But those people, if you actually know the history, right? And I did, and I'm not claiming that I know the whole history. I did brief research. And this is not on some conspiracy site, guys. This is easily researchable. For years, the last 5, 6, 7 years, they've been at odds with Ukraine. There's a line there, okay, right? There's a military line. The separatists have been at war. The UN even, they've claimed thousands of lives. They've said that there's been a lot of deaths, soldiers, different people, they've died, right? But they've said, we need help, Russia. We want you to come into our land and we want you to help us. And so in the eyes of Russia, in the eyes of the separatist nations, they would say, that's not an invasion. That's not an invasion. That's somebody coming in to help, just like with South Korea and the US military. Now, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, guys. But if you're on the other side of it, if you're a Ukrainian or a Western Ukrainian, if you're from the US or whatever it is, you would look at that and you would label that as an invasion. But what's actually happening? If you look at maps, if you look at soldiers, they are, and again, I'm not speaking for special forces and all the small stuff. I'm saying that for the thousands and tens of thousands of soldiers, they are outside the border. They are outside the border, and they're only in the area for which they are, in some sense, justified or authorized to come in based on the permissions that were granted to them by the people in that nation. Same goes for Crimea. It depends on which side of the fence you're on, right? Same goes for Middle East, Afghanistan or Iraq and even military bases in Germany, in Europe, and in Qatar, wherever it is that we have. Do you define that as invasion, or do you define that as a helping or whatever it is, right? And so I'm here to say that there's a lot of lingo, there's a lot of perspectives, there's a lot of ways that you can look at something and define something. But if you look at it from another point of view, you would say that, no, you know what? That's not technically an invasion. That's not technically a XYZ. It may be something else, right? So I'll get to attacks. I'll get to all these different things a little bit later. So that's my fourth point. The fifth point I have is that we're in a time right now, and I'm saying this prophetically, that everything that has to be shaken is going to be shaken. Everything that needs exposing, that is in darkness, will come to light. Everything that needs justice and retribution and righteousness to be restored is being done. I've said that prophetically in the US and many other places. The same goes for things that are happening right now in Ukraine and also with the role that Russia has. I've said before and a couple videos ago that Ukraine, there's a lot of dark activity over that nation. There's a dark cloud over that nation, and what they're doing, whether it's money laundering, whether it's crimes against humanity, whether it's all these different things, energy things, corruption, hiding, masking, whatever it is that they're doing, the puppet regime, or whatever is going on, those things are being exposed as we speak, because worldwide, whether you want to call it as part of the globalists, the cabal, the elitists, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, all of these things holistically is connected and it's being exposed. And so there is a reason that Ukraine and Russia is getting a lot of attention. A lot of people are saying it's the beginning of the downfall of the cabal. Great, if that is. But because things that have been hidden, especially with the Eastern Ukraine, the separatists, that's been going on for a long time, guys. But it's now being brought to light and people are like, oh, wait, something's going on there. And they're just waking up to understanding that. And so God is bringing attention to areas for which there was darkness, no exposure, and nothing that can be shaken. And he's shaking it. He's shaking your ideologies, your perspectives, your stereotypes, your cultural awareness, and your understanding of Putin, of Russia, of Ukraine, of all these different things. And slowly over time, as it's being shaken, people are going to research, you're going to pray about it, you're going to understand it, and you're going to say, oh, wow, I do have more of an informed and correct decision on what's going on right now. And so God is doing that purposefully in this time to get you to wake up, to get you to see the light that's in darkness. So that brings me to my next point. The Lord also was confirming to me I mentioned the corruption and all the things that's going on, but also the roles that people like Putin are playing. A lot of people, you can say what you want about the past or what you think you know, but the Lord showed me. And again, I'm not saying comprehensively that this guy's, the man of God, a man of God and like a good man. He's showing me that this man is being used for great things, for righteous things. And so you may not believe it, you may not know it, you may not understand it. But again, this is challenging your perspective, your ideology, your understanding, your stereotype of Putin and what he's done. But he's using them for big things. He's been linked to Trump. He's been linked to many people. But right now, if you see his history, if you see what he said, if you see his speeches, and I went all the way back to 2016, he's addressed crimes against humanity. He's addressed pedophilia. He's addressed Western ideologies, the downfall of Christianity, and all these different things. I saw this video. It's fascinating, guys. And if you see what he's doing, his actions, his fruit, I talked about presidential fruit, and you can see that this man, and again, I'm not talking about his closet secret life. I don't know, what he does, but for the nation, he's a man who cares about the Russian people. He puts Russians first, and he allows himself, and that's why he's declared things like, the nations, NATO, all the UN stuff. People are coming against him, bioweaponry against the borders, all these different things that are happening. He has an outcry similar to how Trump had an outcry. And so when I see it and I want to genuinely understand his perspective, his understanding, his ideology, his viewpoint, then the more I see objectively, oh, wow, this man is somebody who is being marginalized. This man is somebody who everyone is demonizing and looking down upon. And so I'm not trying to support, Russian and this and that. I'm saying I want to know the truth. I want to know clarity behind what's going on. And I ask that to the Lord. And the Lord willingly can open that up for not only me, but you guys. If you want to know perspective and what people are thinking, what their outlook is, then the Lord can show that to you. And I'm not saying that you can fully understand everything that's going on with him, his personal life and everything behind closed doors. But for the most part, the Spirit allows you to discern. So I want to declare that and I want to give that out there. Now, that's not to say that his actions and all these different things may or may not be justified. Again, we don't know what's going on. And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit, prophetically and other stuff. But the point here is this: Putin, what's going on, your perspective, everything being exposed, the shaking, your ideology, your perspective check, all these different things, it's being corrected, it's being shaken, it's being brought to light. And so you will learn more about these things. And so I want to now move to all the different current news as well as prophecy. So a lot of people, they're saying and they're showing different things going on in Ukraine and all this stuff. So namely, a lot of maps of supposed bombings, different things, and just fires, missiles and things like that. So I'm not here to say, those are, deep fakes and this is whatever. If that is what it is, then great, then that's happening. But I'm not here to say, again, I've said prophetically that Russia is not going to invade Ukraine in a few videos ago. And what I meant, and you can go back and see that, is that Russia is not going to have a territorial subjugation and occupation of Ukraine with hundreds of thousands of troops going all the way through Ukraine. I said those words, hundreds of thousands of troops going all the way through Ukraine. And that word, invasion, you got to be very careful how you use that word invasion. Is it an attack? It seems so. This seems like an attack. It seems like even a war. But is it an invasion in the traditional sense of territorial subjugation over another nation, and to go as far as ripping their name, their history, and saying, you are now part of my land. I'm going to now name you as part of Russia. I said prophetically that that would not be the case, and I stand by that. So anybody that's coming against that word specifically, I want to clarify to you, and I'm also going to, in some sense, double down on that. You don't see that. There's no evidence of hundreds of thousands of soldiers crossing the line to go all the way through Ukraine to take it over in a territorial subjugation type of manner. What you see, and I'm tracking it too, is a lot of missiles. You see, things supposedly. Again, even then, you got to be careful, right? Is it the Russian military, or is it a false flag operation? Is it somebody? And I'm not trying to say and imply that is. I'm saying that from what I said before about processing information, you got to realize that there are different layers. Do you take it at face value, or is there more depth to that? Is it a false flag event? Is this what the media is telling us? Is that what government and Putin is trying to say is the case? But then deep down, a couple layers beyond that, there's something else going on. Putin said special military operations. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean, right? So there's a lot of things going on. So I'm not saying that it wasn't Russia. I'm not saying that it is Russia. I'm saying that at the level of processing information, there are different layers, right? There are different. You don't just take it for face value. It could be true. It could not be true. It could be fake. It could not be fake. I'm here at a moment where the dust is settling and we're seeing it play out. So I'm not quick to say, oh, this is what it is. I told you, bro, this is what's going on. I'm saying, let's take a breather. Let's chill out and let's see what's going down. And so I'm not here to play some conspiracy theory game. I'm not trying to lead you astray or whatever. I want to get to the bottom of it, but let's process it together correctly and let's see what comes out of it. So there's a lot of video coming out, a lot of you see tons of cars coming out of Kiev. At the same time, you see a lot of live action cameras showcasing the quietness, the stillness that's in Kiev right now and across Ukraine. So whether they were attacking certain sites, claims of airport, and there's a lot of reports coming out, guys. And these are some of the down low key things, that there are bioweapon facilities, bioweaponry, bio-development, R&D facilities in Ukraine that were developing NIH-backed gain-of-function type of stuff. And again, I'm not saying this is true or not. This is what some people are saying. China came out and saying, hey, Wuhan was funded. Russia, you can even look this up on Newsweek and just different places, that Putin has declared that, hey, America and NATO and these guys are building weaponry development facilities right across our border in Ukraine. There's so many of them. This is an attack on us. And so again, you have to look at it from his perspective. You have to look at, if somebody came in Canada and just started building bioweaponry facilities, the US would obviously be like, oh, okay, what's going on here? So you have to look, again, perspective, ideology, culture, and stereotyping, and looking at it from that lens. Are you looking at it from a North Korean lens and saying, oh, they're invading South Korea? Or are you looking at it from American and South Korean lens and saying, oh no, we're helping? So again, you have to look at it from both sides of the fence and see, hey, let me take on that perspective of what's actually going on. What are they saying? What are they fighting? So again, I'm not here to justify what Putin's doing or what is or isn't going on, but there's more than meets the eye. And so whether Putin is targeting threats, actual threats against his country, which is bioweaponry and neutralizing these targets, and there's deeper things, maybe Trump, maybe other people are involved, patriots are involved, who knows, right? But there's something going on. There's something deeper and bigger going on. Putin is not a stupid guy who's just trying to take over a nation and everybody's stupid enough to just receive it as, this guy is so bad and evil. There's something going on. It's 2022. Nobody just conquers a country randomly. There's been buildup, there's been rhetoric, if you analyze his speeches, if you look at what's actually going on, there's something else behind the scenes. And because there is a psychological warfare, because there's a information warfare, because there is a guerrilla warfare, there's a lot of things for which you can say and you can't say to the public, because we're living in a time where we are in a connected society. And so people will look at it and assess it, and it's going to throw off your tactics, your battle tactics, your strategies, and all these different things. So you got to be very careful. That's what's happening right now in the warfare front, right? And so again, I'm not here to conject and say this is what's happening, this is conspiracy, this is that, whatever. I'm trying to figure it out myself. But what I'm trying to also say to you is that there's different levels prophetically. Check your heart, check how you process information, check your perspective, your ideologies, check what God is doing at the high level, at the global level, in the bigger picture, shaking, exposure, justice, righteousness, and all these different things. God is probably using Russia, I would imagine, to take care of this. Now, I will say this about prophecy. There's been a lot of prophetic words about Russia and their involvement in Ukraine. So I want to say this. The Bible says, let 2 or 3 prophets speak and weigh carefully what is being said. And so their dreams, their visions, their words can be correct, but you have to look at it with the right interpretation. Russia has a role in exposing, in rooting evil, and taking care of business in the sense of providing justice, even retribution, whatever you want to call it, but taking care of the corruption that's in the world. So I've talked about that, but I have also said that you got to be careful how you use certain words. When you use invasion, you're implying territorial subjugation and dominion over a nation. You don't want to go that far, guys, right? So I'm saying that you got to be careful where you draw the line. So it's correct that Russia is being used. I remember a distinct prophetic dream somebody had of the Russian flag overwhelming the Ukrainian flag and the nation of it, and also over Belarus, right? And so this can imply many things, but for you to quickly jump to, oh, yep, it's invasion, that's correct. Again, you're not properly discerning the news, what's coming out, how to take in all of the things that's going on around you, and then being able to piece it together. So I'm here to tell you, as 1 or 2 prophets are speaking and what they're saying, you have to discern that correctly. So don't just jump to the conclusion of, oh yeah, he's right and he's wrong. Be able to connect it together and say, maybe it is that they have a role in attacking and uprooting and doing, the evil stuff, right? And getting rid of that. But also, it's not necessarily a territorial subjugation. The same goes for U.S. You don't say the U.S. just invades something. They may have gone in there and they may have left after taking care of business, after uprooting maybe evil or defending a nation. Same goes for South Korea, maybe many other nations. Some people say it was not good to go into Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever it is. Have your own opinion. I'm not implying one's correct or the other, but there are different ways, like I've said before in my third point, of perspective, how to look at something, right? And who is justified. Only God knows what fully is going on. But I would imagine that more and more things would come out after everything is said and done. So guys, it's a tough time, right? We pray, we give thoughts and prayers to all the Ukrainian citizens, everybody in the crossfires, all the people that are, stressing and praying over and doing all the different things they have to do, all the soldiers, everything that's going on, guys. This is a serious video. This is not something where I'm going on YouTube and just like spewing different things and just talking. It's serious when you speak on behalf of the Lord and you claim to speak on behalf of the Lord and you're declaring certain things, especially prophetically. But I'm doing this because there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of misconception, there's a lot of deviation, there's a lot of people that are reacting. And quite frankly, this scripture that I read just in and of itself is enough for people to be encouraged. And then from there, all these other things, it gets even dicier. But again, I'm asking you to pray about it. I'm asking you to correctly discern it according to the Spirit and also with your ability to research and navigate the times that we're living in right now. So God bless you guys. A lot more to come, guys. Share this video. Please like it as well. I don't say that often, but I want more people to see it because they have to understand this kind of perspective. You're not going to find a video like this trying to navigate how to interpret, how to understand, how to look at the world. And if you saw this, if you watched this video, you're confused, watch it again, guys, because I said a lot of things. I've carefully considered and have packaged together these words over the course of days, praying and making sure that I'm trying to do it to give glory to God, guys. So God bless you guys. Love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.